quiet enough, I think we could start. All right. Well, welcome to our city council meeting today. We have everyone but Michelle Randall here. She is ill, and we give her our best wishes for a quick recovery. I guess it's impossible to be quick now. She's really struggled with a virus that's got her down, so we wish her well. And I know she would really like to be here. Talked to her last night and talked to her again by text today. But she's sparing you all and us all the chance of us getting what she has, and that is a good idea. So we will begin today. Let's see, we have the Honorable George Whitehead here, who is representing the LDS Church today, who will offer an invocation. And followed by that, we will have from the Green Valley First LDS Ward. I don't know what troop you guys are in. What troop? Do you know your troop number? 420. We have Luke Winder and Seth Lawrence. Did I get that right? Who are going to come up after the invocation, and they'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And do we have any other scouts here? So will you come up with them, sir, when they come up, okay? And then we might ask you a question or two. Actually, Jimmy Hughes might ask you a question or two. He's tougher than I am. Okay, here we go. George, just go ahead and go to the podium, and then they'll all hear you real well. Perfect.
Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads this afternoon in City Council and are grateful, Father, for the blessings that Thou hast poured out upon the citizens of this fine community. We're grateful for the vision of this community, cultivated by pioneer spirit and relived today. We're grateful for the safety and security that we feel here. Heavenly Father, we're grateful for leaders who are caring and understanding and will listen to the concerns of all those who are in this community. We ask at this time that Thy Spirit will be with us, bless us, that we will be able to act on the things that are on the agenda. We're grateful to have young Boy Scout leaders and presenting the colors of the United States and understanding the citizenship in this community. We love Thee, and we are grateful for the outstanding community that we live in, and we pray for Thy Spirit to be here this day in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, George. Okay, Scouts, come on up. And if you'll just stand where Mr. Whitehead just did, right there at the microphone. And let's see. Luke, would you be the voice for us? Do you want to? All you need to do is, and you can face us, and then the flag eventually, see it there. But just have everyone stand and then ask them to follow you in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then stay put for a minute, okay? Okay, good job. Now, if you'll just come up by that microphone a little bit. So, let's see. We know you are Luke. Yes. We know you are Seth. And, young man, will you tell us your name?
I am Tyler Clove.
Tyler Clove.
Green Valley Fifth Ward, Troop 18.
Okay, we know a few Cloves around town. All right. So, let's see. First of all, you better tell us what rank you are in scouting. Start with you and come up to the microphone. Don't be shy. Right there.
Oh,
that one right there. Yep.
Right now I'm a first class scout, almost.
Good job. Are you here working on citizenship in the community? Okay. Seth?
Right now I'm a star scout.
Very good. Same merit badge you're working on?
Yep.
All right. Mr. Clove.
Yeah, I'm currently a star scout too.
Excellent. Well, that's great. So, Jimmy, I'm turning the time over to you. Grill him.
Okay. Now, I'm pretty simple, so we all know some of the longer things, but one of the things I love, and I still tell my children this today, is when we get somewhere and we have a problem and I have the solution, then I say, well, I learned that in the Boy Scouts, because what's the Boy Scout motto? Do you guys know what the Boy Scout motto is? 2 words.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. So I always tell my children when they say, Dad, how did you have that to fix whatever we just fixed? And I said, because I'm prepared. Be prepared. That's what I learned in the Boy Scouts. And the slogan is also very simple.
Do a good turn daily.
Do a good turn daily. Just think how much better our world would be and will be as we move forward if we all live by that slogan. Do a good turn daily, or even more than one. But it's okay for us to do we want to do the scout law?
Sure.
Right. So and we'll help you, because the mayor knows that backwards, forwards, sideways.
Only forwards.
Can you guys
You ready? You remember
tell me
that
the scout law?
And you better do this, yeah?
Yep.
All right. A scout is
Scout is trustworthy,
loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent. Hungry. We add hungry. We're just being funny, right, George? Did you add hungry too, George? I did. All right.
Ask Esplin what troop he was in. I'll bet he still remembers.
Do you remember, Esplin?
4 what?
413.
413. I was 414.
I was 505.
Walt Cox. If you guys all know Walt and Janine Cox, Walt Cox was our scoutmaster back when I was that young, which isn't very long ago.
Yeah, that was only 5 years ago, right?
These guys ought to be able to reach the rank of eagle. Whitehead and I did, and so that tells you this doesn't take much. So you ought to be able to do that.
Yeah, me too. If I can do it, you guys can definitely
Yeah.
do it. Well, thank you, young
Yes.
men. Thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. We wish you all the luck in attaining the rank of eagle. Okay.
Yep.
Mayor, I can't tell you how gratifying it is to know that you and Jimmy are prepared to get us through this agenda.
Does that help?
That's
Ed?
really comforting.
Why do you think I turned it over to him? No, it's a great motto, isn't it?
Yes.
And when it's only 2 words, I can remember that. Okay, Gary, any changes to the agenda?
No, I think we can just go right on, Mayor, if you're ready.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, the first item is a bid award for the purchase of single-phase pad mount transformers. These are to replace our inventory. As the year goes through, we occasionally use them, and we try to keep a stock so that we can have some on hand. So, Brett will give you the details.
Yeah, so this was a formal bid. We had 2 bidders, and we're considering approval to award it to Annexter in the amount of $58,255.
Council, any questions on this? You see the bid tabulation there. There's fair difference considering the dollars for between the 2 bids. 71,000 versus 58,000, correct?
Yeah, and if you're curious, it's 29 transformers altogether.
Ready for a motion unless you have questions for Brett.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve an award bid to Annexter for single-phase pad mount transformers in the amount of $58,255.
Motion by Betty with the second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mayor, the next bid opening is for the installation and purchase of equipment for the new 7 police vehicles we're purchasing this year. We went out for bid this year. Normally we do that in-house, but we felt like that because of the workload that we have at our automotive services department, as well as the expertise that we have in the private sector, we went out for proposals. And we received 1 bid from EVS, and they're on the state contract for installation, but they're not on for equipment. So we went out for bid on the equipment as well. And so you can give them the numbers there if you would, Brett.
All right, this, as Gary mentioned, this is to upfit our 7 new police vehicles. Altogether, that cost will be $66,689, and it might be worthy to note that the equipment, this particular vendor currently is not on state contract for the equipment. However, next month, by the time we'll be ordering, he will be on the state contract for his equipment, and he's already on the state contract for installation. So even though we did our own formal bid, we still only got one bid from him, and he happens to be on the state contract as well. So, and his prices were the exact same as the state contract is what he bid.
That's EBS looking right on River Road in St. George.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow, that's
I think the one thing maybe to note is that by them being on the state contract, they have to go through a rigorous application process and then have to, the guarantees and all the rest in order to be on there. So it gives us a little bit more of a assurance that they're going to do a good job.
Any questions, council? You may remember, we leased with the option to buy a number of police vehicles a few years ago, but we still need to buy some additional ones to keep up. We kind of got behind because of the recession and so forth, and so this was the best way, to make sure we stay up in the future. Is that fair to say, Gary?
That's correct, as well as we had approval for a couple of new officers as well this year.
True.
That we had to outfit.
Yep.
So.
Ready for a motion unless you have further questions.
Mayor, I'd make the motion that we approve the award to Emergency Vehicle Systems equipment installation of 7 new police vehicles to EVS in the amount of $66,689.
Second.
Motion by Ed with a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is for a hydro excavator and Freightliner chassis. You can see in the attachment that we have money in the budget for that. This is, we try to turn these over every 3 years, I believe, 3 or 4 years. Can't remember I think it was, maybe it's 4 years. Anyway, you can see on the attachment that we received $185,000 trade-in on the current vehicle, and so therefore the difference I think is $116,000 for the VACCON, right? And we have to buy the Freightliner to
Yeah, it's a two-part purchase. You buy the hydro excavator, and then we're also purchasing the Freightliner. They get assembled together and shipped over here, and so that's why it's listed as one item, but they are two separate purchases from two different vendors. The hydro excavator will be purchased using the National Joint Powers Association, the NJPA cooperative contract, and the Freightliner will be bought from a state of Utah contract, and then they'll be combined together, and that total cost is what you see there, the $223,484.
Perfect.
and our budget's $231,000.
Good. So a little bit under. Questions, council? Ready for a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the purchase of a hydro excavator Freightliner, the excavator from NDPA and the Freightliner from the state of Utah contract in the amount of $223,484.
Second.
Motion by Betty with a second by by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is a purchase off the state contract for 2 Chevy Tahoes for the fire department. You might remember that we approved a new position, inspector position in the fire department, so we need a new vehicle as well as the replacement of an existing vehicle. The reason we buy the larger vehicles is that they have to they have to have equipment storage for when they respond to the fires, and they need space to do that. And so we've used those in the past, and they've worked out very well. So budgeted amount was $90,000, and the bid is $71,000.
Chief, there's some sweet justice there. We're making the fire department drive Chevys, and you guys get to drive Fords. Yeah, look at that.
Them's fighting words, huh?
That was a good one, Jim.
All right.
Sorry.
Anything
Brett,
to
go
add,
ahead.
Brett?
The vendor's Larry H. Miller, but as mentioned, state contract.
Questions, council? Other snide comments?
I'll go ahead and make a motion,
Okay.
Mayor, that we approve the purchase of the 2 Chevy Tahoes for the fire department for $71,562.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Brett.
Mayor, maybe we can go into the staff reports. We've got a few minutes before public hearings are scheduled.
Perfect.
Item 6A is a request for local consent for a Class C alcohol license for Wingnuts, located at 250 North Red Cliffs Drive. This is over in the
mall.
It's actually in the promenade or the outlet.
Right.
Outlet.
250
whatever
North.
they call that
Yeah.
now. Okay. The applicant has submitted all the necessary paperwork, and we do not have any reason to suggest that they wouldn't be appropriate to issue the license. It's
Any
actually an address change only anyway. He already has a license.
Any questions, council?
No, it's encouraging to note that they feel comfortable in knowing they're going to have enough parking to be able to handle all of this business. That's good.
Very good.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve the local consent for Wingnuts.
Second.
I have a motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Planning Commission report. I don't know if you want to take care of maybe those conditional use permits.
Sure. Let's do it.
Those shouldn't take too long.
Item 6B, report from Planning Commission. And the first thing is item 1, and there are several items to read in to set public hearings to be advertised for November 2nd. Item A, excuse me, consider a general plan amendment to amend the general plan from open space, medium density residential and commercial to open space on approximately 2.64 acres. And also commercial on approximately 12.17 acres. Property is located Red Hills Parkway, called the Twin Lakes property. Second item, 1B, consider general plan amendment for approximately 1,188 acres, which will amend the general plan from employment, park, public facilities, industrial, open space, residential, to medium high density residential on approximately 20 acres, high-density residential on approximately 70 acres, commercial on approximately 195 acres, medium-density residential on approximately 331 acres, industrial on approximately 302 acres, low-density residential on approximately 270 acres. The property is generally located east of River Road, north of the southern corridor, and is called Southern Hills. Item 1C, consider a zone change request for Bloomington Country Club Phase 12 to change the zoning from open space to single-family residential R110 on 2.35 acres. This will allow development of 8 new additional lots. The site is generally located on or near Goldenrod Circle and Chaparral Drive. Item 1D, consider a zone change request for West Creek Commercial Lot 2 from a split zoning of C3 and M1 and to change it to C3, which is general commercial. This is located 772 North Dixie Drive. It's right behind Walgreens. It's a dental building. Item 1E, consider a zone change amendment request to amend the existing plan development commercial zone by initially developing an office and warehouse building for a jewelry business called Paparazzi. This project is for Phase 1 only. Site is on parcel 4.5 of the Atkinsville Master Plan. Has 11.94 acres, generally located on Astragalus Drive, next to the Southern Parkway. And those are the items requested to be advertised for November 2nd.
I would, unless there's some questions, I would move that we schedule public hearings for advertised and have them advertised for November 2nd. On items 1A, B, C, D, E, and E, with the stipulation that we change the name of that drive to another word.
Astragalus?
Yeah, I can't say it.
Second.
All right. We'll work on that last part. I don't know if that's actionable, but we have a motion by Joe and a second by Betty. Any discussion?
I'll wait till after the...
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
I just want to ask Ray, on going back to item B, that's just a general plan change amendment. We can expect that when this thing comes up, there'll be a space in there for a fire station, or have they approached that yet?
Is that correct? I'll let John answer that.
We've spoken to the fire department. They've looked at this area. They have a couple areas that they've identified for fire stations in this area. They don't believe they need one, but we'll be sure to include the fire department in the discussions like we have.
Just, thank you.
From the Planning Commission report, our 3 conditional use permits, I'm going to use the sequence for the City Council if it's okay. Items 6C, 6D, and 6E in that order. 6C is consider approval of a 1-year extension of time for a previously approved conditional use permit for an 80-foot tall cell tower located within the fields at Little Valley. And you've seen this before. It was approved. It would expire in November. And the request is to have it extended for 1 year. And the reason is, I think it took a little longer for the property exchange between a school district and I believe the Parks Department. And just to refresh your memory, you probably looked at this. This is showing the location by the Sunrise Intermediate. So in the interest of time, I won't say too much. I have a lot of detail here, but it is something the council's seen and has approved, and it's just a request to extend it, give them a year.
Questions, council? Just a request to extend the time here.
You said extend it till
1 year.
Be
just an
another
additional
year.
year?
Be another year
I
in
think it would
November.
go to, I think it's November 2nd, 2018.
Okay. Motion to extend the CUP for an additional year for the cell tower.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries
Mayor, you
unanimously.
might remember that this was a trade. The property is actually owned by the city. The school district approached this since it's by those fields and the lights are there. It's not a real impact on the neighborhood. However, as part of that, the school district gave up their rights to some RP and P property across the street north of the Snow Canyon High School. I think it's 6 acres, 4 or 6 acres that we just received permission from the BLM to, recognize that transfer. So they're transferring their rights to us. So that was in exchange for them getting the site for the pole.
Always good if we can make a good deal for both entities, so. Okay, next, Ray.
Next is item 6D, consider approval of a conditional use permit to expand the existing Holbrook asphalt facility that's located at the northwest corner of Commerce Drive and 1630 East Street. This is in Fort Pierce. And the request is to expand the facility. And Holbrook is a pavement preservation contractor, installs various types of asphalt surface treatment to extend life of pavements. And the process is listed here. I won't go through it all in case there's any questions. And the reason it's before you is in the ordinance 10.11.2, a concrete or an asphalt mixing and batching plant in the M1 zone is allowed through a conditional use permit, and that's why you're seeing it. The building information is here. They want to put a new steel building up, about 13,000 square feet, about almost 25 feet high. 60 parking spaces are provided, and that's what's required, and there's a breakdown of it here. This shows the location. Here's, I believe it's Red Blake, the car junkyard, lack of a better word.
It's a salvage yard.
Salvage yard, thank you. I wish I would have thought of that a second earlier. Here's the site, just across the street from it, and then it's highlighted down here where I've expanded it. And the zoning, again, is M1. It's industrial general plan. This shows the site plan. Down here in the corner is where the existing building is. I assume that you've gone out there and seen the new facility that's there. And back in this corner is where they'd like to put a new building, have drive-through for trucks for delivery, and then they'll mix the product inside and then have silos on the outside so that the truck can go underneath it and be loaded up. And here's a little closer view of that. And again, I'm just going to kind of rush through it unless there's questions for myself or the applicant. This basically just shows it's a simple metal building that's going in to house that. And this is just showing the end of the lot where the building will go, so there's not a lot to see. And this is an example of one of the 3 silos that you saw that would be stood erect and be part of the process, so you get a feel for what it is. That basically is it. It is recommended for approval. I'm just glancing at the Planning Commission report, and council report. Again, it is a CUP, so there are the findings that are here. And again, the Planning Commission recommends it. So if you make a motion to approve it, it would be with any comments from Planning Commission and the findings.
So it's just, the CUP is just for the specific use that it's required
Yes.
for asphalt.
And Ray, this is going to take place inside the structure. They're not going to be, the mixing's going to be outside, and we're going to have dust and dirt. It's actually going to be inside a structure.
I'm told that it's going to be inside, and then they'll have the product pumped and conveyed into the silos, and then they'll load it.
That'll be nice.
Other questions, council? Ready for a motion if you're so inclined.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve a CUP request to expand the existing Holbrook asphalt facility by constructing a new building, batch mixing equipment, storage tanks, scale, and circular truck road.
Second.
Is that you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Motion by Betty with the second by Jimmy to approve, as has been stated, this expansion of the Holbrook asphalt facility, including all the findings from the Planning Commission. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Carries unanimously.
So the next conditional use permit, hope I have the right one here. Yes, I do. The next one is consider approval of a conditional use permit to construct an accessory structure above 15 feet in height at 2386 East, 4040 South. And let me bring this up. So this shows the area. It's just south of Meadow Valley Farms Phase 4. I know it's a little hard to read on the screen, but pointing right here is the property. And if you look down below, you can see there's a street here and a street here, and it's this corner lot, number 73. And then the garage, which I'll show, is in the back, which shows here. You kind of have to flip it for the where north is. The way it's prepared is north is pointing down, so you've got to turn at 180 degrees. But the proposed garage is in the back here, existing residence, and the setbacks that are proposed are 8 feet on the side and rear. It has to be at least 6 feet away from the house. It's almost 18 feet away from the house. It's in an RE20 zone. Again, here's the property, and it would be right here where the white arrow is pointing to. Elevations of the building itself. Again, it's an RV garage. And the height is why the conditional use permit is before you tonight, because it's over 15 feet, and it's just 3 feet over. It's at 18 feet. Again, how it's measured is to the midpoint of the roof. And I think that concludes staff's comments. I'll look real quickly. It's a conditional use permit. Planning Commission does recommend approval, and there are the findings that are required for conditional use permit in the packet for you. And other than that, that concludes staff's comments unless there's questions.
Any questions, council? Okay, ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow for the garage height up to 18 feet.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Joe. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Go back to planning, or public hearings then, Mayor. I think
Yeah.
it's after 5:30.
Yeah.
First public hearing is item 3A. Public hearing, consider amending Title 10, Chapter 8 of City Code pertaining to plan development standards residential development standards and side yard setbacks. So this is an amendment to our zoning ordinance dealing specifically with separation between units. And so what the proposal would do would reduce the separation between single-family detached units and projects that would allow for townhouses and attached product. So the current code requires a 10 feet separation between units in a PD. And so what the additional provision would allow for, and I'll read it and then I'll explain kind of what the purpose, and I have a few pictures to illustrate the purpose. It states building separation for detached single-family projects with 7 or more units, and so it's 7 dwelling units an acre. It's projects that typically would allow for townhouses or attached products. May be reduced to 3 feet if the following standards are met. There's common area or limited common area between structures, no fence and no retaining walls where 3 feet exists between units or building offsets, and the reduced separation is approved during the zone change. And so our current code, at 7 units an acre, you start seeing more townhouses. And so our current code would allow for a fourplex, such as this one shown. But what it doesn't allow is for these townhouses to be separated 3 feet to allow for single individual houses. And so here's a couple examples. And so this is essentially taking the townhouse and just separating it by 3 feet. These are all over the country. This one's actually in Cottonwood Heights. You can see with breaking up the unit, you actually have a variation in facades, and you can have different colors, different architecture features, whereas a townhouse typically just has one facade, one materials. Here's a couple other pictures of what this would allow. It still allows for that density to remain, but allows for that detached unit. This is one, a couple weeks ago I was in Park City in a conference, and this is a unit that I saw just off of Main Street. This is actually a duplex with a single family house here. And if you notice down in this picture, you notice the separation is 3 feet. It's really close. And this is kind of showing a close-up with the separation. So what this ordinance does, again, it just allows for those townhouses to be separated instead of them being attached.
Are there other advantages to that, John?
The advantage is you have a detached unit. Homeowners, instead of having a townhouse, they have a detached unit. It also helps with affordable housing concerns. When you have more of a dense project, you can fit more. It also allows the developer to maintain a similar density as they would, but yet provide that detached product.
John, you mentioned single family, so just for clarification for the audience and people at home, this is not for single family. This has to be 7 or greater per acre.
It's a PD zone.
PD
Correct.
zone.
It would be in a PD zone. Yes, it would be in a PD zone.
You're saying just not a typical R110
Right.
neighborhood.
So they don't expect that.
Planning Commission reviewed it and recommended approval.
John, there's no restriction on height as far as 2 or 3 story?
No,
the
the
ordinance.
limitation would be the ordinance, and so if they wanted to go greater than the current 35 feet, that would be reviewed as part of the PD.
Great.
I think, Mayor and Council, what it does is it gives some flexibility a little bit in this, so you don't just see the rows and all of them looking the same, that it gives a chance to build something that might be a little different and it's in a PD and it's controlled by the PD, and you will see the product. Because it's a PD zone would require you to see the actual finished product or what's proposed to be the finished product. So you don't really lose control over what it looks like or what the density is, nor the project. It just gives them, the developer, the owner, a little more flexibility to be, individual units.
And it provides a little bit different product than what's out there.
And we also, at that point, would still see a material board and colors and
Yeah.
the
That's
whole
correct.
works, wouldn't we? That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
And what's usually in that 3-foot separation? We're going from 10 to 3 foot, and what material would go in there so the public will know?
I've seen rock. I've also seen hard surface, something that's low maintenance. Typically, is what you'll see within that area. And these are all 3 stories. I've seen renderings of 2-story units, and they look nice too.
So can I ask, would something like this, be allowed in our, what we previously defined, was it our traditional neighborhood development zone? Would something like this already be allowed in that? Or would we need to?
Not with the 3 feet separation. That's new.
Larger.
Could this apply?
I think this would be appropriate.
A good fit
most definitely
to change? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking ahead.
Yep.
Okay. Because I think, that concept was great. We just haven't seen anyone do it yet.
Yeah.
So I think
Well, I think this might encourage
Right.
even them looking at that simply for the reason that you don't have the 10 feet between the buildings
Yeah.
on a single family
And
or
we-
a individual unit.
And we've talked to a few developers that actually have excited that we're proposing townhouse projects that actually went back and redesigned their entire development to provide this type of product. And so it seems to be
Good.
something developers are interested in supplying.
Good. Any other questions, council, before we open this up to the public? Okay, thank you, John. This does require a public hearing, and so I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who may have come to offer input on this item, number 3A on our agenda today.
Evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kurt Gordon with Desert Canyons Development. From our perspective, this is a great thing to do. I think that from our point of view, it provides another threshold in the diversity of housing that we can provide in the city. Right now, you are either in a townhome attached, or you have to, go to a bigger lot, single family. So I think that this will have the effect of providing a lot more diversity in the type of housing and the affordability. So we'd like to speak in support of it and encourage you to support it also. Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. I think it looks kind of fun. It's a little like San Francisco.
Park City.
Park City.
You don't want to scare them by saying San Francisco.
I don't know. I like it. I like both places, but any others? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any other discussion or for a motion if you're ready.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, and make a motion to amend the title, let's see, 10.8, zoning ordinance 10.8.5 to allow for the setbacks to be reduced as explained.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Joe, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Mayor, can we move item B to the last item
Sure.
on the agenda?
You got their attention.
Mr. Hurst complained to me that he sat through the entire planning commission meeting the last time, and so I thought he'd be interested to sit it through the entire city council meeting.
We like to keep things equal.
Actually, it was probably the best day he's ever spent in his life.
Go ahead, Ray, with B. We want to get them out of here. Anyway.
Okay, you threw me there for a second. Let's see. All right, item 3B, public hearing to consider amending the Plan Development Center for Dinosaur Crossing to develop an Ace Hardware on Lot 9, Pad L. This shows the Dinosaur Crossing, and the red arrow is pointing to approximate area where this is proposed within Lot 9. This brings you back to the original concept for the Smith's Marketplace. Here's Smith's. There's a new retail wing here with suites that have been recently built, and this would attach onto it right here. This is where the area where the Ace is proposed. Mall Drive is out here, Riverside Drive is here, and just for reference, the fueling center is what I'm pointing to now. So again, this is Lot 9. This is called Pad L, but this is where they would put the building. And then the associated landscaping out here where I'm tracing, and the associated parking. Again, this item K pad here was recently built. Part of Ace Hardware proposal, if you look down on the bottom of the screen, is this red area would be an attached garden center. So just conceptual colored landscaping appears to meet and exceed the requirements. We'll find that out during a civil review, planting plan, and some conceptual elevations for ACE, and just the different views and the rendering. The materials and color board is on the screen, and it's also laying on the table there. Basically very similar to what's been done in the Smith Center, and a lot of earth tones. This again just shows kind of FYI, this is pad L within lot 9. That is basically it. Let me look at the staff report, make sure there was no detail, but the Planning Commission does recommend approval. And on page 2 and 3 of the staff report, the Planning Commission had a couple suggested comments or conditions that you could apply. And that concludes staff's comments.
Ray, is that the 50,000 square foot building, that's the garden area, that's not included in that, is that part of that 50,000?
I'm looking, sorry, I'm looking at the top of page 2, and it's approximately 15,000 square feet, and well, it doesn't say, I'm sorry. I'll have to, thank you.
Says that the building is 15,000 and 4,000 for the garden center.
Okay, I thought I had it in there, it just wasn't jumping out at me, but thank you.
Good. Any other questions for Ray? All right. Does the applicant wish to say anything, if the city manager will let them? He says, don't talk yourself out of it. You're welcome to if you'd like before we open the public hearing.
My name is Cameron Dorman. I'm representing the Woodbury Corporation and here in behalf of Ace Hardware, who is investing in this property. We'd just like to thank you for your consideration. We're excited about adding to Dinosaur Crossing. It's a great development. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question before you go away. You're not going to be putting too much pressure on Jason Hurst up there, or you're going to have nuts and bolts in individual departments, so we got to go buy 1 or 2 there?
I'll have to defer to Buck for that.
I think it's a perfect fit. You know, I think it's exactly what we were hoping for, personally, to have multiple options, retail options for people close to their homes. So, personally, I think it's great. Glad you're here proposing it. That said, I'm going to open the public hearing for any who've come to express their opinion or ask any questions about this item. Number 3B. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any questions, discussion, or your action.
Mayor, I would move that we approve the zone change amendment to Dinosaur Crossing Commercial Center to amend the PDC, Plan Development Commercial Zone, on Lot 9, Pad L, to develop an Ace Hardware store with a garden center.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you and good luck.
Mayor, I think they should have named it Bucks.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Hey, I know, what's your son's name? That's the name it ought to be.
Well, he's got so many of them, it'd have to be, you wouldn't have a big enough sign to put it on.
Have to have a bigger
Yeah.
sign.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for investing in St. George.
That's good.
Item 3C, public hearing to consider amending the plan development commercial zone for Target by changing exterior facade materials and colors of the existing Target building. Target is the applicant. This is just showing a location on the top of the screen here, River Road, and the bullseye marks Target. The zoning is PDC, and the existing and proposed conditions, this top photo that I'm pointing to is the existing colors and the color scheme for Target today, and you can compare it to the one down below that shows the facelift, the facade change that they want to do, change to a large area here with a faux wood material. Now that material is on the table there in front of you. You can pass it around if you'd like to see it. But this went to Planning Commission. They reviewed it. They recommended approval. I'm looking at the staff report on the first page. When a significant change is made to a PDC, such as a change in the building's appearance, then a zone change amendment is required. Staff discussed this matter, and it was concluded that it would be best to have it go before Planning Commission, City Council, make sure that you felt it was appropriate, or if you had any questions for the owner or developer of it. And here are other elevations. I did pass out copies and put it before you, what I have on the screen tonight, where you can see it, but not all of the building would be this wood decor, but over the main entrance it would be with this red color for the entrance. And in this section here, that's accenting a CVS pharmacy. We had people ask if there was a CVS pharmacy in there, and apparently it's been there a long time, but this is to bring more attention to it, I believe. And on the sides of the building and the rear, you don't see any color change. It's just this main front entrance. And then here's a better view where you can see the material. Planning Commission asked some questions about the columns and the treatment, and this graphic has changed from what they had seen just to show a little more detail of what was proposed.
I guess.
And then a side view.
To see them. I'd like to feel it.
The signage is shown here, but it would be by a separate permit and not part of your action. The materials board is there that the mayor's looking at. That's it, and then the other one also. And what's on the screen is what the mayor's just picked up. So that concludes staff's comments. We have Mr. Bryce Christensen here as the applicant, and he is from Kimberly Horn out of Colorado.
Different Bryce Christensen than some of us know.
I wanted to
Bryce?
clarify that. I told him it was a well-known name in the community. So may I invite him up and he can answer questions too?
Any questions first for Ray?
I just want to make sure clarification. When you use the words significant changes for those homes that are up there on Fourmaster at the top, looking down, this is also going to be on the frontage side facing River Road, so it really won't have any impact on those homes up on the hill.
No,
That's true.
The back will. You know, that's a good point, and I had it in the staff report that the building height's not changing, the parking's not changing, setbacks aren't changing, landscaping's not changing. It's a major facelift on the building itself.
I'm just curious about why a fake wood? I mean, and brown.
Faux.
Oh, faux.
It's like
sorry.
junkyard and salvage yard.
Okay, sorry.
It's like
Faux
when,
wood.
when I say bullpucky instead of bull, what I want to say.
Cookies?
Bryce.
Okay. Hi, Bryce.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah,
No, I love Utah. I went to college here, so my name is Bryce Christensen. I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates on behalf of Target. Thank you very much for your time this evening and consideration of our application. We are proposing a exterior facelift. I'm involved in Target's 2018 remodel program. They've selected a number of stores from across the country and are really excited to implement this new branding, per se.
Is it to make it live up to the Target, you know, kind of?
Yeah, a little bit.
Faux wood?
The idea is to kind of warm up their big, vast buildings, both interior and exterior. So you'll see some of this be implemented on some of the interior of the store as well. So the idea is just kind of warm up the building, give it a modern, fresh, clean look with some clean lines, with a neutral color palette. There's no structural improvements on our application. It's just strictly like an exterior facelift, like is in the staff report. And I don't know if you have any other questions for me. The material, the faux wood, let me get to that. It might look kind of funny on a board, but it's a really durable material that's gonna look clean and fresh even in the hot St. George sun. It's not gonna fade over time. It's extremely durable. It's easy to install, and Target's really likes the what the wood feeling does to a building or a room. It kind of generates warmth. The idea here is to kind of install this around the main entrance to give the customer experience or direct customers towards the main entrance, and then a section in the middle of the building where it kind of breaks up the elongated face of the building.
I'll take your word for it. It looks like a log cabin to me, but that's very mountainous in the desert.
Planning Commission liked it. We think it's going to be pretty cool. So.
Well, that's typical of being the Planning Commission.
I have a question for you, Bryce.
Yes, sir.
It seems like when that came before the Planning Commission, those, what I would call are columns there next to the entranceway,
pilasters?
that they were removed, but I see they're back on there now. Is that true?
That is true.
Good,
We
good.
looked at making it one plane in the
Yeah.
front and doing a structural, but it really wasn't very feasible. So
Well, I think it's going to look better with those still in there rather than.
give it some breakup.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, council? Okay, thank you, Bryce.
Thank you.
So we'll open the public hearing at this time. Since this would be amending a planned development commercial zone, this requires a public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing for anyone who might have come to offer input on this item. No? Okay. We'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, and make a motion to approve the zone change to amend the Target PDC by changing the exterior and approving the renovations as outlined.
Thank you. We have a motion by Jimmy and a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? I didn't call you Joe this time. All in favor? Could you been called worse? Me too. Me too today, actually. Yeah. Billy Bob. All in favor, starting with Joe, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Faux wood on the pilasters at Target.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot tonight.
We have.
Yeah.
We voted in favor, just so you know.
Yeah.
All unanimously.
It's going to be interesting to see what it looks like.
Yeah. Hope
Good
it does
luck.
warm it up. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Never seen Bryce Christensen wearing a white
They're a lot alike, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, item 4A is a request. Well, I've been thrown off here. Item 4A is a request to consider approval of an amended residential subdivision final plat called Lots 1 and 2 at the Villas at Valdera Phase 1. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at 4647 North Petroglyph Drive in the Ledges Development Zone as PDR. And basically the amendment here is they're going to merge these two lots together to make one large lot. So their request is to vacate that public utility easement right there between the two lots that are there and then merge those two lots together.
They're changing the two lots. It doesn't say they're merging. I think it just says that one gets smaller and one gets larger. No, not in this one.
Not in this one. I think they're merging.
In the next
Yeah, in the next one.
He fouled up and went ahead of
You
him.
just did that.
I think he skipped one.
I just go by the schedule.
Use this schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're on 3E.
We are on
3E.
I just went based on what was the planning commission packet. There you go. Sorry about that. Just making sure you're awake.
It's only 6 o'clock, folks. Okay, that's it. Any questions before we after we let him sit down? Okay, then I'll open the public hearing for anyone who may have come to offer input on this item 3E on our agenda. Hard to believe there are none, but we'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action.
If there's no questions, I would move that we approve the amending the final plat of the villas at Veldera Phase 1 as presented.
Second.
You have a motion by Joe with a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Joe this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item is a request to consider approval of an amended residential subdivision final plat, Lot 30, the Arbors Phase 3 subdivision, Lot 34, the Arbors Phase 4 subdivision. Representatives Development Solutions. Property is located at 3029 South Poplar Lane, zone is PD. It's not PDR. It's R112. Anyway, the purpose of this amendment is to merge. Here's the original property line right here. Lot 34, as you indicated, is actually decreasing in size, and lot 30 is increasing in size right there. So the request is to amend that lot line and those plats, and to then vacate that public utility easement between the two.
Somebody put a fence in the wrong place?
No, I just think that somehow, I don't know if the developer still owns these two lots and someone's come in on one of them and asked for a bigger lot, or if the two are, I would imagine it's probably the first.
Trying to make a house fit or something.
Yeah, I know they had talked about requesting to vacate the public utility easements with the lot, but we told them they'd have to move them unless they could provide justification and go through JUC, and they have not done that yet.
But there's no
New one.
physical stuff in there.
No.
So will they have to come back and before we
If they want to
sign?
vacate it. If they
Yeah.
want to vacate
Right.
it.
The problem is when this has happened in the past and someone wants to run a line down there, then there's 3 lots right in the middle that don't have the utility easement.
Right,
So
that's correct.
Any questions, council? Then I will open the public hearing for anyone who has come to offer input on this item 3D on our agenda. Seeing none, I'll come back to the council for your action.
Motion to approve the final plat amendment for Arbors Phase 3 and the Arbors Phase 4 by adjusting the lot lines on Lot 30 and Lot 34.
second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. That handles the public hearings.
I guess we have to go back to planning commission to you, Wes?
We already did a few things, Wes.
If you got here on time, Wes, we could have seen the rest of the planning commission.
Story of my life.
We are on, let's see, would it be, well,
B.
Yeah,
Good
6B.
Let me see. Go back to the top.
Forever 6B.
Are we on final plats?
Yeah. So this is says item 3A from the planning commission
Very
report. Is a request to consider approval of a 21-lot residential subdivision final plat called Desert Point Subdivision. Representatives Development Solutions. Property is located off Desert Point Drive, approximately 3600 east and 6300 south. This is in the Desert Canyons development. Zone is R110. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff, and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is, so if you look here at your vicinity map, Southern Parkway, Desert Canyons Parkway, this is to the most southern end of the Desert Canyons development, as this is the Arizona border right here, and it's these lots right here. They have a fairly fantastic view of the valley, just in case you're interested.
We are interested. Thank you. Questions? Ready for motion.
This might be the one time that when the real estate agent says there's nothing going to be built behind them, that they might be telling the truth.
Might be. Might be.
Can
least for a while.
can the teenagers still go there and drink beer, though? I want to know that.
Oh, okay.
It's not drink beer, it's make out.
Did you just say you were going to make a motion? You said you would move.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Desert Point subdivision.
Second.
That was a motion by Jimmy and a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3B from the Planning Commission report is request to approve a 2-lot residential subdivision final plat called Elmwood Estates Phase 5A. Representative again is Development Solutions. Property is located off of 3230 South at approximately 3425 East. Zone is R18. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. This is, so if you look here in your vicinity map, here's 3000 East. Crimson Ridge, it's to the east of their development right now, almost to the eastern edge, in fact. It's just these two lots, and again, this lot is a common area to their development as they're planning on building a pool, restrooms, and a pickleball court for the Elmwood subdivision.
Questions, council?
No, but I'd like to know where Stacy is. How did he get out of this today?
He's usually the one they make come.
Ah.
I don't know.
Wes, is it 5A or 5 that has to be recorded first?
This, the plat right here will have to record first as their access comes through that. They'll have to have that dedicated road
All right,
first.
we just want to have that in the motion and that one be recorded first. We're approving them both tonight, but just, they could be recorded separately, so we just make sure that we've got that access.
Mayor, I'd like to move that, make a motion that we approve the final plats for Elmwood Estates Phase 5A. And what's the other one?
And that it
And that it be platted or
Final phase
recorded
5
first.
record first, yeah.
prior to, what's the other one?
Phase 5A. Oh, the phase 5 will need to record before phase 5A.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Clear as mud. Okay, we have a motion by Betty and I believe the second was by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, item 3C from the Planning Commission report is request to consider approval of 7-lot residential subdivision final plat called Entrada at Snow Canyon, Chaco West, Phase 5. Representative is Trueline Surveying. Property is located on the southerly and westerly end of Ticini Drive at approximately 2700 west, 2175 north. Zone is PDR. It's part of the Entrada development. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of preliminary plat. Again, this is just right here on the southern end of the Entrada development, right there. And the only difference on this one is lot 63 will need a private sewer easement through that lot to get to the sewer right here, so that they can have a gravity main instead of a force main out to the road.
Questions, council? Seeing none, ready for a motion?
Waiting for me.
Go for it.
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Entrada at Snow Canyon, Chaco West, Phase 5.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 3D from the Planning Commission report is request to consider approval of a 20-lot residential subdivision final plat called Sequoia Estates Phase 4. Representative is Development Solutions. Property is located off Adara Drive at approximately 3300 east and 3340 south. Zone is R18. Again, all aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. Again, here's 3000 east, Crimson Ridge Drive. It's just east of that new LDS church that they're building. If you've seen that out there on Crimson Ridge, right there. And this is Crimson Ridge right here.
Questions, council? Ready for a motion?
I would move that we approve the final subdivision plat for 20-lot residential subdivision called Sequoia Estates Phase 4.
Second.
I have a motion by Joe with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is that it for Planning Commission?
Wow.
No way. Joe, how long did it take? 4 hours?
I don't know, I sleep through most of it.
All right. 8 hours. All right.
Mayor, I went to these planning commission meetings. Joe doesn't sleep either.
Well, that's good to know.
All right, then I guess we can go back to the regular agenda, which would be 6F. So I'll turn some time to Renee to bring you up on this technical change that we're making. It's kind of a housekeeping item in our net metering program.
Thank you. It is just a housekeeping item. We realized as we looked at our program, the level 2 review really didn't specify in there that we may have to do a study depending on how much solar is going on a circuit. And with the increasing number of applications and the size, we felt like we wanted to make sure it was clear that if it's a level 2 review, which is 10 kW and or a 3-phase installation, that we will do a study, and if it's something that requires an engineering study, that it would be at the customer's expense. And we just wanted to make that clear in the program. That it doesn't really change anything, it just clarifies. No, it doesn't.
I think in the study is to show if there's any negative impacts on the system that
Correct.
could be back into it. And so it just gives us the opportunity to make sure that that project isn't going to negatively affect our system.
Because our system is designed for flow one direction. And everything protects the flow one direction. If we want to make sure that if, depending on what's going on the solar, it can't have too much flow in the opposite direction that would adversely affect the customers on that circuit that don't have solar.
So does it typically, have we ever had a triple play, whatever you call that?
3-phase, yes, those are commercial installs, and we have actually quite a few of commercial installs. Ram Company comes to mind. They've been on the longest as far as commercial, and they have a 260 kW, so a quarter of a megawatt of solar. Yep.
Renee, you mentioned solar. What's going on with it? While you're at the process of presenting this, are you seeing an upkick on solar?
We are seeing I don't know that it would be an uptick, but it hasn't slowed down. And just as we see the number going on, and we just did a spreadsheet with all of our circuits and how much is on each circuit, and we just thought, given how fast it's going, better to be proactive, make sure we clarify it now. And we don't have any problems, and we don't foresee that there will be, but we just want to make sure we've got our ducks in a row so that we can do what we need to protect the system and make sure we provide reliable power to all of our customers and still allow those that want to have solar to have solar.
Great. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions, council? Ready for a motion then?
Sounds of silence.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, and make a motion that we approve the updates to the net metering program as explained by Renee.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for everything you do with conservation and solar. We used your name in vain a couple days ago at a candidate forum in a good way.
In a good way? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
So
you're
if you
welcome.
get a bunch of calls, you'll know why.
Okay. And just so you know, I still love working for the city. It's been almost 17 years.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for staying.
I don't know how you've lasted that long. But okay.
There are days I wonder, but most of the time it's great.
There are no days that we wonder, just so
I
you
meant that we kept you that long, not that you had that long.
It's all Gladys Cook's fault. She's the one who made sure I got my foot in the door.
Thank you, Renee.
She does enjoy her job, and it shows in how she does it and the service that she provides, so I appreciate it.
Item 6G is the officially accepting the trail dedication of the property out in the villas at Sun River. It's
Mm.
part of that park out there, I believe. Is this part of the park, Sean? This is the
Yeah.
the trail, that's right, the villas is. And so we just need to, they're going to build the trail, and it's part of the park, and they're going to dedicate this trail to the city, so we have to accept the dedication. I think it allows them to take a donation.
So just for the folks listening, the park, is the name of the park Arrowhead? What's the name of that park that we're talking about?
I
Arrowhead?
don't know if they've named it.
Is that,
I don't know if they've named it either, but
It's those the nightly rental and condo project there closest to the freeway is all I know. I don't think they've named the park yet. If they have, I don't know.
The only thing I know about it is the gentleman that wants to change the end of Sun River Parkway into a park, and then the Arrowhead Park might not.
Oh, so that's the other end then. This is up by the freeway, the one we're talking about tonight.
This is up by Arrowhead.
And that's the part that you were referring to as
Yeah.
being skinny down if the other part goes through.
Well, yeah, it's a potential. They're going to come talk to us next week.
Yes,
Yep.
you'll all be here.
I think I'm out of town that week, man.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we? St. George? Any questions? Otherwise, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to accept the property that is being donated by the villas at Sun River for a trail to the city. What?
That's good enough. Good.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by
Just
Betty
sounds
with a
funny.
second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Nice to see that moving along.
Sean, do we have to have an RDA first on this, or can we do this before the RDA?
We can do it in either order.
Okay.
because the city has to approve it still.
All right, this is a proposed incentive agreement between which is a neighborhood redevelopment area, which is the kind of the mother of all the CDAs, EDAs, and those projects we do. And so, technically, this is the CDA portion of that for the downtown. It is for Jewel Plaza, and it's a 10-year agreement that we would give back to them the increment that's generated over the new valuation that is over the existing tax base that's there for a period of 10 years to help them with the costs of their project, to encourage that development to be in our downtown area, as we've talked about with City View as well as this project. Now, you might remember that the district is 15 years from the time that we instituted it, so there will be 5 years that we'll be able to recover with that new valuation. We won't be giving back to them that we can cover some of our costs or get some revenue back.
I have a question on it. So when that goes into effect, does it go into effect when it's completed or when they start on it?
We have to implement it and we have to enact it, and so once you enact it, then it's for that tax year that it's assessed. And so normally what they'll do is wait until they have as much of the improvements that they can, so they can get that higher value for that first year. Otherwise, if they do it before it's built, there'll be no value because
bare ground.
it's just it's this value that's there right now. That stays, and that's never changed. The taxes that are generated on the existing values go to those entities as it currently does right now.
So we're setting that at 2017, the value. But
Right.
the agreements, and all of our agreements have been the same, and that would be after they get their CO, the first full tax year, because they'd want to take advantage of the agreement.
The challenge is going to be is that in this CDA you have two major projects, and if they're not going simultaneously and close to the same time to start and finish, then you could end up with one of them not getting the same value. Now, with the reason that it's probably better in this case is the loser would be us in the
'Cause there's the
in the other
excess.
one, because we've already agreed with the City View project that all they're doing is that increment will pay us back for the land that
Property.
we've assembled, and so then we would. But we're going to get it for 15 years there, or up until that amount that we fixed on that. And so it's just a timing issue. And I would guess that according to what we've talked, we've got a meeting next week, that they'll be under construction, but maybe down their entire project as quickly. So we'll see.
Is that what you're referring to, that this is subject to some changes between?
Well, we have some technical changes that we are going
subject.
back and forth with their attorney, so it's subject to, and the value.
I'm
on these
guessing that this
projects-
thing won't be, it'll take them at least a year to build this, I'm guessing. And so I would think we probably won't enact the actual starting period for that 15 years. It runs until you're looking at probably at least 2 years, or a year to 2 years.
And we're giving them 18 months in the agreement.
Yeah,
So, and it's a $32 million
improvement.
Wow.
32 million, that's a lot of money.
It's amazing.
So wasn't the other one around 25, City View?
I think it's more than that with the hotel. It started out way low, but that's some of the reasons why you haven't seen some of that started yet, is the cost of building in St. George now has increased so much that they're having to see how they phase that project in. But I think the hotel there was 13 to 15 million,
So
plus
it's
the
more
other
like
two. So it's probably
40.
It's probably 30 to 40,
Mm-hmm.
which is a heck of an investment in the downtown.
So,
Amazing.
just to make sure I'm clear on that, so for 10 years, it goes back to the developer,
Well,
the increment.
excuse me, when the CDA was created, we gave the school district 25% of the increment, and so they will receive 25% of the new increment.
Oh, so that's
The
a
school
bonus.
district will. Now, the rest of us, the other taxing agency they'll get 100% of that. And so, but at the end of the 10-year period of time, it still stays the same. School district will get
25%?
Well, they'll get the whole thing at that. well, I
At the end
guess
of
they
10
won't.
years. I guess I'm just trying to figure
Yes.
out what's the difference between the end of 10 years versus after the 15.
Well, between 10 and 15, we have no contract to give back to the developer, so that money will come into the CDA in that area that could be used for other projects or other improvements within the CDA.
Instead of the normal distribution. So
Well,
after-
no, it will, yeah, right. It's kind of
Sorry.
complicated.
No, I
you're
think I'm
right.
getting it.
No, I think all the taxing agencies have given up, under
Right.
interlocal agreement, have given up 100% of the new value on the new development for 15 years. Okay? The school district gave up, they got 20, they only gave up 75%.
Right.
And so for 25%, they'll get forever for that thing, and then they'll get
Right.
100% after 15 years of what they get. But, after the 10 years is up, on this particular agreement, then the CDA, which is a city, will get all of it, except for that 25%.
And then at 15, we'll just get our little
Then
piece
it'll go
sliver.
back on the rolls, and every entity will get whatever their percentage is.
Perfect.
And that 5 years then will give us, if you look at that amount, will give us some money to help do some other improvements down. Maybe you'll have another company will come in during that 15-year period of time. We did fix the total amount that we can take out of this district, because that's normally what the state looks at when they do these things. And we fixed that amount to more than cover these two projects and at least a couple of other projects similar in size to this, which we wouldn't anticipate building much more than that because there's no more property.
Then in theory, once that goes away, that 32 million may be quite a bit more valuation.
Yes, it'll go up as the valuation goes up. Yeah, that's correct. And what it does is obviously it's a simple calculation really with the school district. They can say, here's what we have right now. And if you get a normal development without an incentive, without doing this, you might get $20 million. Well, here you're getting 40 or more. And so how long does it take you to recover that? And if you look at it for a long period of time, that's an investment in their future that they'll get back a lot more than what they would have got if they wouldn't have done it. That's why they look at all those details when we go talk to them at the meetings.
So Gary, for the folks at home and the audience, the other agencies, not just the city, it's the county, school district.
Any taxing agency except for
Right.
mosquito abatement, they didn't opt in through it. And you have to go through this agreement individually to each one of those entities, and they sign an interlocal agreement agreeing to do that. So they have every chance not to, but they all saw the benefit of doing this in the downtown area, and so they
Great.
approved it.
Thank you.
Mayor, are you ready?
Yes.
I'd like to move that we make a motion to approve the incentive agreement between the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George, the City of St. George, and the Jewel Plaza LLC.
Second. Second.
You want to make, say, so subject to us doing this in the
Final
redevelopment? Oh, subject to legal approval.
Subject to legal approval.
Is that okay, both of you? So the motion was by Betty, the second was by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is a contract for the wastewater treatment folks. You might remember we talked about this, I believe, during the budget, that the major line that lines that take the wastewater to the treatment facility are very old, been in for a long time. And so to do preventive maintenance and trying to figure out what we're facing, we had a study done last year, and they looked at the lines, they looked at the stability, which ones were more impacted by whatever factors degradate those lines. We don't want to talk about the stuff coming from Washington, I guess. But anyway, this proposal would be to hire this engineering firm, a consultant firm, to go back in and look at that study and determine which areas of that need to be done first, and then try to determine a schedule for taking care of that. And then they'll also do the plans and specs for the project itself. So
then they'll decide what the repair may be.
and then we'll bid it out. That's right. And then we'll have to figure out how to bid it. Scott, you want to enlighten us even more than that?
I'm not sure you want to be enlightened more than
I
that.
was going to say, show us a camera.
We all know where it's
video.
going, where it's coming from, where it's going.
But we've kind of looked at the data, and we have our idea of what needs to be replaced. They'll take a look at that same data and kind of we'll consult back and forth and get an idea of what lines need to be replaced and how we're going to replace them. Some of them will be able to open dig, replace it. Others will have to slip line, the ones that go through backyards and in areas where we don't have access to, we'll have to slip line. So they'll look at it, they'll design all of the open dig and the slip line. They'll prepare a bid package so we can go out and advertise and bid the project out. About double. Yeah. But there's areas where we just don't have access. We don't have any other choice. So we're looking at it, and wherever possible, we're going to relocate, maybe from backyards into the street where possible. There's a section through the park, through Cox Park, that we'll probably be able to open dig, but other areas we don't have that option. So, and this will address the issues from basically River Road to Confluence Park, and that's a section of pipeline ranging from 24-inch to 36-inch in diameter. After this, we'll keep on working our way downstream through the larger diameter pipes up to the treatment plant.
So that slip line is kind of like a stent they put in my heart.
Yep.
Same idea.
The same procedure too.
Wow.
So if they had open trench, it would have been cheaper.
I think it's just it's cost of doing business. I mean, if you look how long that sewer treatment plant's been down there, wastewater treatment plant's been there, and if we don't do it, if we have a major issue with that line, we're in trouble. And so I think that I appreciate Scott being proactive and looking at it. The cost is going to be a lot, and then we've got to look at doing the Santa Clara outfall line and figuring it out, because with the investment to the new treatment plant, we're not going to move it, obviously. So we've got to get it down there. So it's just a cost of.
This is a $2 million, is that right, overall project?
Estimated.
That's
We really
what it
won't know
originally
until we
was, yeah.
until we get the design
Could be
done.
more. probably won't be less.
You know, and we're trying to get together to put together a financing package because, as you're aware, the capacity at the treatment plant, as we talked about, the huge project there is going to have to be done over the next number of years. And so how we finance these as we go maybe have to be looked at as far as that package. If, you know, if this cost is just is two, how much is it for the entire system? Some of it's not as bad as other sites, and, you know, a lot of it has to do with the soil and other things that the pipes there. So
Monetarily.
yes.
All right. Before this gets any deeper, quite literally, can we have a motion?
Motion to approve the professional services agreement with PEC for the sewer outfall line rehabilitation project for $89,718.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Scott.
The addendum, maybe we could go to the addendum.
Yes.
The first is the Homeland Security Grant. Every year we have to officially approve this grant. Anything we need to know about it, Sean?
Yeah, I defer to the fire chief, Chief Stoker. It doesn't have a dollar amount on there, so I don't know what the dollar amount of the grant is this year.
The dollar amount will vary each year, so we really don't have a set amount for the fiscal year 17. Little history on this grant. This was it's been almost 20 years since we've been in this grant program through the region with our 5-county regional team. Started out as a hazardous materials team and has become an all hazards team for all hazards pretty much that come up we can respond to. Again, it's the 5 counties in the southwest region, and we have 3 representatives from each county, generally the emergency manager, a fire representative, and a law enforcement. And it's really been a great group to work with. We've been really fortunate to get along as well as we do. We're one of the models for the state program. When this first came out, we were well ahead of the curve for our regional team as far as putting all of our differences aside and personal needs and looked at the whole region. So there's multiple equipment for a lot of specialized items that we wouldn't be able to afford on our own, or individual departments, where as we go in as a group, we're able to get all the equipment that we need for a region and respond to that. One of our big purchases that we made a few years ago was our large heavy rescue. That there was really no way we could get that on our own through the city due to the priority of our equipment. You know, we needed new fire engines and ladder trucks, and a heavy rescue of that type was really not out of our reach, really. And Iron County with Cedar City was able to purchase one also. So a lot of the counties, as we work through these, we prioritize what our goals are for the upcoming year, and we base that off our hazard assessments that we do in each county. And so we prioritize our equipment towards that. Then we do line items, at which time we meet as a regional committee and prioritize those. And so it's a regional, you know, departments don't go out on their own and just purchase what they feel they need. We prioritize it as a region. It's really been a pleasure to work with the members of that regional team. So this is our annual agreement that we need to do for the Homeland Security Grant Program. It identifies 14 different items that we need to comply with. Those are all complied with. And then just shout out to our county. Washington County has been the administrator of this grant since the inception of it for our region, which is a lot of work for the emergency manager's office down there. It was Dean Cox, now Pete Coleman. They've recently added Jason Whipple, that used to be with our city. He's our emergency operations manager now, so he'll be working close with this also. So
it's been nice to have that, and they've been great to work with, so.
I think the interesting thing is that heavy rescue is in St. George, and so we can use it as we need. Now, correspondingly, the reason they're Fayette County or so if they have a spill in Panguitch, we go. And so that's the trade-off is that the county manages it, but that some of that equipment's right here that we can use whenever we need to use it. But then we got to respond if we've responded a few times out.
Yeah, we
to
respond
areas
quite a bit out of our county too. Right. You know, we've gone to Bryce Canyon on a chemical spill. We've been up to a couple winters ago. We were up Kolob Terrace Road. We had a propane tanker tip off in the snow down into a ravine. And so we've gone to multiple hazardous materials calls throughout the region. So
it shows the cooperation among all the entities because you couldn't afford to do this with one. Everybody doing their separate. So
in this day and time, you tend to think of Homeland Security and you think of terrorists and all that type of thing. This shows the broad scope of really what Homeland Security is and the involvement of all of us in the county.
Yes, like I said, when we first met to do this, it was a struggle to put priorities aside for each individual city, and it's been really, like I say, exceptional to see what some of the other counties' needs are compared to ours. But it's been a great group to work with, no matter if you're in law enforcement, EMS, or whatever your discipline is. When you get on these calls, we all work together. So and we train together and do regional training. So.
All right, don't talk yourself out.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? I need a motion then to, if you're so inclined, to approve the fiscal year 2017 Homeland Security Grant Agreement.
Mayor, I'd
So-
make them.
oh,
Oops,
okay.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say so moved. He said it so well.
Is that a second?
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Chief, want to say one other thing. We were sitting right here earlier this morning. Leadership Dixie has been in session today, and it was Government Day, right, Betty? So there are a few of us here this morning, and Betty was with them this afternoon, I think. But they had all the mayors, well, a few of the mayors here. And I just wanted you to know, and the Deputy Chief as well, the PD, that Mayor Rosenberg paid a very specific compliment to St. George for our police and fire responding frequently first, to their issues. And especially fire, because they have a fully volunteer fire department, and it's quite small, and they share it, I believe, with Ivans, don't they?
Yeah, they're in the process of combining,
Yep.
like they did their police department, from
Yep.
my understanding. So I don't think it's happened yet, but they're in the process
Working on it.
of moving to combining both those agencies together as well.
Anyway, I just wanted you to know that Mayor Rosenberg specifically mentioned that and thanked me, and he wanted me to pass that along to our departments. So
I appreciate that. Like I said, we've worked great as a Chiefs Association in the county, and we get along great when we do respond to those other agencies. There's really no turf wars or anything like that. We're there for one reason, and that's the citizen, and so it really works great.
I love it when I see, again, we saw it this last week, right? A few days ago. Was it Sunday?
Sunday.
Had a house fire, and I saw comments online just saying they couldn't believe how fast our fire department put out that fire down there in Cox Landing.
Mayor, as a supplement to this, as we had that ambulance evaluation committee meeting today, this also shows the good working relationship between a private company like Gold's Ambulance Company and the hospital in serving all of these emergency needs, and how it's broadening and growing, particularly in the area of...
Good. It's important. We need it.
It really is.
We need that collaboration, don't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's what, we've tried to stress. It doesn't matter when somebody calls 911. It doesn't matter what's on the door, what's on patches on your shoulder. They just want help. So, like I say, we've got a great working relationship with all the agencies in the county and the region. So, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, are you going to give that young man an award that's leaving right now?
I think
he could have been the longest scout ever
I
to
know.
a meeting right there.
I know.
Can he get an extra credit?
He needs something. So, well, find me on Facebook and we'll make you a deal, okay? All right. Thanks a lot.
The next item would be consider approval of the betterment agreement with UDOT for the Bluff Street project that's going to start here in a month or two. We talked about this in the work meeting. There isn't any real changes from that. I think there's a $50 change somewhere on that material they're putting down by the golf course. But, you know, I think it's important to remember that we're deleting some of it. The wall that was there by the fountain, it's $122,000 that was going to be and we're getting $135,000 from them, and then they're going to landscape it from, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions of how it's being paid for out there, that we're just adding a bunch of stuff there, but that from diagonal basically to the Red Hills Parkway on the east side will be paid for by the project. They'll give it to us, that we'll pay for it.
Which has never really been landscaped.
Nope, it's not
So
been
it's
landscaped on
that'll
that
be an
side.
improvement.
Yeah. And then the only other thing we'd be adding to it would be the finishes to the structures that we build along the road to make them look a little more like we've done in other interchanges. And we're recommending through the budget opening processes that we identify monies that they've given us for some of the right-of-way purchases to pay for that. So we're really we didn't anticipate getting that in the budget, so it's really not having a negative impact on having to go find other dollars to do the betterment. So the other part of the betterment is the water. We talked about that. The water, we don't know, we don't have an exact amount because they'll have to see what it is when they get in there, but they have some estimates, but those are bid, and then we'll know what it is when they come back.
Mayor, just so the public at home and those in attendance will know that this betterment agreement has to do with the widening of Bluff all the way through and the changes that are taking place with UDOT. And when I say betterment, it's all of those improvements that go associated with the widening of the road and what takes place with it.
Well, and probably maybe to clarify even that a little further, Mayor, would be that UDOT's, it's their road, and so they're going to go in and fix the road and widen the road and do all the improvements, but they're only going to do it to their level of what they do in their budgets, and so these are city, like the water lines are ours, and they're not going to improve our water lines if we want to upgrade them. So if we want to upgrade what's, you know, you see what's there. If you want to get a little bit more of an upgrade, then you have to pay for that because they're not going to pay for it. So, but it's part of that UDOT program.
I feel strongly that this is a good thing, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve the betterment agreement with UDOT for the Bluff Street project.
Thank you. We have a motion by Betty and a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I don't know if you have any actions. I do have a need for, after we come out of redevelopment agency, to go into a closed session to talk about property.
Very
some
good.
Property issue.
Sean, do you have anything else for a closed session?
No, I don't.
Okay, so first I would need a motion to, to go into the regular meeting of the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Joe, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. So we are now in that agency meeting.
Okay, so this is the same incentive agreement that we just talked about in the city council meeting that we're recommending the RDA, since they're the ones that actually govern this particular project with approval by the city council. They have to adopt the same agreement.
Any questions, council? Ready for a motion then to approve an incentive agreement between the City of St. George, the Redevelopment Agency of the City of St. George, and Jewel Plaza LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Joe and a second by Jimmy. This ought to be subject to legal approval. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now I need a motion to adjourn from the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency meeting and go into a closed session. Can I do that directly? A closed meeting of the St. George City Council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Jimmy. Any discussion?
Can we say what the topic of the closed
Yes,
session
it is for property
Sale.
sale.
Thank you.
Very good. All in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everybody.